Nova, what you cooking, man?
Good morning, gentlemen. It is Tuesday, October 14th, 10/14. Welcome back to Iron Mind. Somebody's got feedback. That is a tough noise out there. But man, good to be back here this week with you gentlemen. We got a great addition with us hanging out this morning. He's swapping for Trey, who's doing something in Kansas City. We got Mr. Steve Setka joining us this morning. What's going on, brother?
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. It's cold outside, so I'm inside of my basement gym at the moment, but happy to be on the show.
Yeah, no, it's cold. So it's cold outside where you're at. Where are you tuning in from? Let the world know.
Yeah, Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada, the frozen center of the Great White North in the trucking industry up here. Freight brokerage, it's below the freezing point, which is below zero in Canada or below 32 degrees in Fahrenheit. So we're starting to get into the tundra here in the middle of October.
Yes, let's go. Go Jets. Love the Winnipeg Jets. Love that they got their team back. I always am rooting for Hartford for them to get their team back, similar to Winnipeg. A lot of ways.
That's awesome.
Fun fact for anybody who doesn't know, the Jets and the Hartford Whalers joined the NHL in the same year, and they're both two cities that did lose their NHL team for
right.
egregious reasons. They should have never left. Both of those teams, very historic. But Winnipeg got it back. Still waiting on Hartford. But Pedro, what's happening this morning?
Oh man, dude, I'm loving things, loving life right now, man. It is beautiful outside. I'm on the phone with a hand that has my watch on, so I don't know how cold it is, but it's a little nippy out here. Not close to 32, like old Steve, but man, things going good. Busy week, bro. Got one of my final events this year coming up this Saturday here in East Texas, and dragging and pulling in the pines. So got a lot to do, man. So I can leave Friday and go out there, have a good time with our good friend Tex Crowley. But other than that, just moving and trying to get motivated this Tuesday morning with you fine gentlemen.
Let's go. Yeah, dragon pulling in the pines. That's down in Lufkin, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm excited about that, dude. It's a truck show, truck drag races, tractor pools, and an electric circus. I don't know what that means, but we'll find out.
Dude, you can't beat it. And Mr. Klingensmith, what's happening?
What's happening? I'm hoping Trey can flip me to my phone. Otherwise, well, I don't know how much you're going to see me during the actual episode here. But I'm happy to be here. We're navigating our technical and logistical difficulties as usual, but getting through it with iron minds.
What can we do? Well, hey, I know we were off last week, so I appreciate everybody who stuck it out and who's here this morning. But I do got a question for all you guys. Like I said, it's something I was talking about last night with Nick, our mutual friend Joe Rinaldi, and I think this is a curious, and I think it applies to kind of how we seek advice and stuff, and just general knowledge in the industry. But what do you guys think? And there's no right or wrong answer. But what is the difference between an opinion and wisdom?
I think wisdom is an opinion gained through an actual life experience. How about that? That's my answer.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's got an opinion. For sure, there's lots of opinions. There's lots of subjective ways to look at the world, for sure. But wisdom, I heard the other day, is the knowledge of the principles that never change. That's something golden that I picked up the other day.
What about you, Nick?
So I was on a delay. The question is about opinion versus wisdom.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think the difference between opinion versus wisdom is?
I don't even think they're in the same league. Wisdom is something you gain, and opinion is something you have or give. And well, opinions are like excuses, man. They're like assholes. Everyone has one, and they all stink.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fascinating point because Yeah, opinions are fast. Opinions are fast without really giving much maybe thought. Whereas, yeah, wisdom is something intentional, experience gained over time. Can an opinion be wisdom?
Ooh, that's a good one. Man, Lombard, why are you trying to make us all think at freaking 6 o'clock in the morning here, man? What's wrong with
We're
you?
mo- we're moving our bodies this morning. We're moving our bodies this morning. We're getting the brains working. Man, if anybody's out there, in the comments, what do you think? Get freaking let us rip. What do you think is an opinion wisdom? Or even, I guess I'll pose this as a question. We can go around the table. What's a piece of wisdom that sticks out to you that you've gained from somebody in the industry?
Ooh, you know what? I'll bring this one out, and it's because I actually posted it the other day, and I do consider this wisdom, which is an expression he didn't make it up, but I learned it from him a long time ago when he was talking about negotiating and selling, and he said, "Don't think with your wallet." And that was what I took as a piece of wisdom that I have gleaned from having been a career in sales in particular. But, you could argue that, and I'm sure somebody could argue the other side of that's not being a good, their opinion would be that that's not a good salesperson or something to that effect. So you can have opinions. I mean, I don't know if something to be wisdom necessarily has to be grounded in fact, because I think it's what's the word that I'm looking for here? It's about the individual perspective as well.
What about?
Well, we're getting into more philosophical approaches for sure. I would say that it takes, like Nick said, it takes more of an earned ability to achieve wisdom and to present wisdom, over a period of time or a length of time for sure. I was talking about this last night. So in Canada, we had Thanksgiving weekend this weekend. It's a little bit earlier up here than it is down south. And we were talking more about this, is that it's more of an idea around being an earned perspective rather than a deserved perspective. So you earn the ability to present wisdom over time by listening to other people who you believe have a little bit more of it figured out than you might. So it comes down probably more to listening and learning and observing rather than always be the one to present. And then you gain that right from earning it over time, the knowledge and the perspectives that you have.
I like that, but also you mentioned time, and that's a huge, huge aspect because the wisest people of their time, didn't know what DNA was going back in history, right? So everything's a pocket in time. That's why you sometimes talk about wisdom for the ages. You hear those things, but when you hear that expression, it's usually a joke because I think it's a unicorn.
Let's go. What about you, Pedro? What's a good chunk of wisdom out there that kind of keeps you on the rails? That's been sticking with you.
Honestly, not as good as either one of the ones that Nick and Steve said, but my boss Kyle, when I first started working with him, man, he was really teaching me how to, hone having sales and getting business. He used to tell me a lot, don't be afraid to say no, and don't be afraid to say yes. And what he was talking about was just because something is in front of you and it looks good, doesn't necessarily mean that it is. But on the same token, maybe there's something in front of you that you're not too kind to, but you're like, I can see the opportunity, the possibility in this. So don't be afraid to say yes to it.
There we go. No, it's good. Yeah, just a good brain exercise to kick off the morning.
Well, I like it because now it actually segues to something I wanted to talk about. So I want to stay on this track for a second because I bet if you surveyed 1,000 people, not 5 of them would have the same answer. And I bet most of them would have the definition wrong, myself included. And I'm going to go look it up when we're done here because things that we believe are wisdom from whether it be other people's lived experience, history, or some sort of lessons, we tend to use that wisdom as a governor. We tend to use that as a reason to limit our beliefs. And I don't know if enough times we look to the wisdom of the ages as encouragement and inspiration so much as, that can't be done in a way to make ourselves smaller. And That's why was something that just a lesson I learned over the weekend, and I've been talking about this a lot lately, was just how much we underestimate the sheer power of just showing up for ourselves and without those limiting beliefs, and how often we can actually defy what it is that we believe. And I think that you can literally you defy the wisdom that you have learned with more experience. I don't know if any of that makes sense.
No, without a doubt. I mean, that's kind of was part of the conversation I was having last night because, you guys just differentiated. There's a huge difference between opinion and wisdom, in that there's groundbreaking things. But when it comes to opinions, just like Pedro said, you said, Nick, we all have them. They're like assholes. We all have them, so to speak. So there's clearly opinions we have about ourselves that we're giving too much thought and attention into, that aren't doing it. Whereas other people might have an opinion about you and what you do. And we always learn hey, ignore them, ignore those, what they're saying, like their opinions or their thoughts about you. Kind of like how you had some YouTube commenters in your YouTube last night. And it's become, gets easier to really ignore what other people think about us, but we give some attention and we give some weight to opinions we have about ourselves, that don't really necessarily make it true. There's this huge thing with ego. Basically, when people think of the word ego, they think of something bad, but really all your ego is all of your learned experiences over time that your brain has kind of put together. And your ego is your reaction to outside events. And so ego is a defense mechanism. Really, overall, that's what an ego is. It's a defense mechanism to prevent you from feeling uncomfortable in certain situations. It can be bad, but it can also be very good in how you navigate, because your learned experiences are detached from the current reality, and so how you react and how you engage with them, is super important to get down and dirty, down and deep.
Lombard, I want to jump into that a little bit further because, Ryan Holiday in his book says ego is the enemy. There's the title of a book that he's written. And I've been struggling a lot with that these days, getting in my own way. And, bringing it back to the whole idea of wisdom is that the people that you care about the most for sure can have a lot of ideas, a lot of opinions about your life, and not all of them are necessarily wise, moving you in the right direction. One thing that I've been struggling with recently, which is why I need to be around good people like you guys on Iron Minds, like my family for Thanksgiving, like spending a lot of time with my wife these days, waiting for our baby to come in about a month, which is very exciting, is that I'm always struggling with that idea that I need to get to that next thing in order to be happy. When I have this much money, things will work out better. When the baby comes over, I'll be doing better. When this house, et cetera, et cetera. But the snowball effect of expecting outside external events to make you happy, satisfied, and fulfilled is an empty feeling, which is why we need to be around other people and why we need other people to provide wisdom in our lives so that we can understand that the power is within, not necessarily outside. I think that's a wise perspective, and that's why I'm happy to be on the show.
Now, I heard an acronym, a couple actually, when it comes to ego, because I agree with what you're saying, Mike. I tend to think that ego gets the bad rap, but I think also what we're talking about is a degree of self-confidence and self-assuredness, or at least just knowing who you are. But some of the things with the dangers of ego, in the program we say ego stands for easing God out. That means I'm in charge, I'm taking over, I'm running the world.
Yeah, edging God out. Yep.
That's a bad thing, right? Like, I'm not in charge of the universe. And the more I try to do, the more my life sucks. So I'm going to mess up one of the words here, but it was ego is expectations of goals in others or expectations of something in opportunities. And it might even been external goals and opportunities. But the point is, you will tend to get to a point where you are putting expectations and trying to control outcomes, goals and outcomes of things that are beyond your control, because we have expectations, because we think we reach this level. We think we are at this place, and that's where ego gets in the way, and often is followed by something rather humbling. So, I mean, it's definitely danger. And the thing about humility, which is supposedly the opposite of ego, is the moment you think you have it, you've lost it. So there's your paradox. Discuss.
No, man, it's fascinating brain work to get into because, like you see how many lottery winners go broke, and like people who win the lottery who go broke, or people who do we all, in theory, just as Steve was saying, need or such want more money, and for whether it's through jobs or promotion or whatever it might be. But if all of a sudden, and this is why lottery winners go broke, if all of a sudden tomorrow, $5 million would be deposited in your bank account, a lot of people aren't ready. A lot of people aren't ready for that type of blessing from wherever it may be coming from. And the idea of stripping away kind of the want or desire of those things and already acting as if you have them. Like when you want something, or if you're declaring, and this isn't to say goals are bad, because having goals are good, but if all you're exclaiming and saying out there into the world is I need this, I want this desire, it's not it's just like if you're trying to get a date with a girl or something like that. Like if you're begging and pleading for something, that's not attractive. That's not going to magnetize the energy that you want to come to you. You need to be acting as if that money already exists and you have it and you're operating with it. And then that's how it keeps yourself open, because when you one track yourself into saying, I need this money, I need to get this money, you're turning off every other opportunity that can come your way that can possibly be giving you that, because it's not just going to be, it's not ones and zeros. It's not black and white. You're like, I really need this specific job. I want this job. I need this. And if all you're focused on is getting that one job and you don't get it, what does it end up doing to you? But if you just stay content and crush exactly what you're doing at that given moment, on that given day, and you're open to, you need to change the mindset from I want this to I'm open to receiving. Like setting, it has to do with changing the intention that you want behind what it is you're going after. So instead of wanting a specific thing, exclaiming it to the world, we have to be open to receiving what it might be. And I think about that because that's kind of how I wound up at Truck Parking Club. Like there was no set in stone where I want to be this, I want to do that, I need to be doing X, Y, Z. But I was open to myself internally. I was open to whatever was out there that is going to kind of come my way and set me up.
Steve, you look like you're ready to say something.
I'm good to go. I'm just smiling grin to grin here because I got this great comment, from the bottom of the screen, which is lighting me up.
By the way, hi Jessica, thanks for joining us this morning. So I listened to you guys to your show the other day, and you were talking about purpose a lot. And I'm very goal orientated, and I'm very public with my goals, and I think it's really important. But my goals are the superficial manifestation of my purpose. And that is why when I miss a goal, for example, I set a goal, right? Ironman Belgrade in under 7 hours. Clearly that didn't happen. But my purpose is still to go inspire and encourage other diabetics that we don't need a level playing field. So what did I do? I went and hopped in another triathlon, kicked ass, still accomplished it. The goals give me sort of that tangible thing to pursue. But now that you were talking, and man, I don't know how I didn't bring this up. This is the wisdom I learned this morning because I was watching another speaker on YouTube during my main workout. And what he was saying is don't worry about achieving the goal. Become the person who you would become by achieving the goal. Become the person who can achieve the goal. So it's about developing yourself to, like you just said, put yourself in position to receive those gifts. Become the person who is worthy of achieving those goals, and all the other things will get met.
Well, that's one of the most difficult things to do, Nick, I think, is shift your mindset and your perspective to become that person who you want to be. In the book of Luke, like we were just talking about, Walmart said, pray as though it's already done. Put yourself in that position that you're already there. And if you can see that and envision that in your life, it makes that journey toward getting there a little bit simpler. Definitely not easy, But if you know that you have the ability to get there, and you know that you have the ability to get to where you want to go and achieve those goals and those missions through God's power in your life, because you have a purpose here on earth, there's really nothing that can stop you. And that's what Lombard and I were getting on when he was telling us about his journey in Lombard trucking. It quote unquote ended in 1984 with the actual trucking company, but the legacy of that company continues through to 2025, 30, 40, 50 years later, Lombard, based on what you're doing now, fitness and health and triathlon and driver training and physical and mental spiritual health, which is crazy. So that was inspiring, very wise for us to get into that last week, and I appreciate you guys jumping into that topic.
Man, we just got to get you on the lounge and get Pedro on your show. This is great. I only have to watch like one show a week. I can see all my friends.
And we can see your friends, and you can get all the wisdom that you need for the
Exactly.
and we're ready to go. 6 a.m. at Iron Minds. I love this show. Proverbs 27:17 is one of my favorite verses. And when I saw you guys started to do this, I'm ashamed of myself for not jumping on yet. But blessed to have the opportunity to be on here. Just blessed.
Dude, you mentioned a couple weeks ago, and it skipped my brain, so I'm sorry. Well, you know what? Last week we had a fumble anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. But there's no way I'm not going to sound like I'm beating my chest here when I tell this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So I went out to middle of nowhere, Florida this weekend, and I participated in the Spartan Deca Mile. For those who don't know, a Deca event is a decathlon, so it's 10 stations, things like weighted burpees, there's a row machine, a ski erg, weighted lunges, slam balls, just 10 different things. And with the mile, you run 1/10 of a mile between each station. So this year, I have done exactly 0 strength training and exactly 0 high intensity training at all. All I've done is run, bike, swim, and rehab. So I was expecting a humbling experience. I figured, you know what? I'm going to go out there and I'm just going to kind of start the workout. And so right off the bat, I'm putting all these limiting thoughts on myself, right? I'm not telling myself, dude, you've already had 1,000 miles for the year. Usually you don't hit that till December. I'm not telling myself, hey, you're like, your endurance right now is at a stupid high level. Instead I'm focusing on all the things that I'm not. The only good thing that I did leading right up to it is right before the race start is I let go of expectations. I instead of going out there and saying, all right, I'm going to crush it, I'm going to do this and blah, blah, blah. I was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to go out there and I'm going to give an effort that I'm not comfortable giving. I'm going to push myself a little further. I'm going to go one more, and I'm just not going to let myself off the hook. And I was like, I'm not even going to lean into it. And that was just sort of talking myself to the start line. Once they say go, it doesn't matter what you told yourself. You're locked in. And from station 1, though, it was rough. I mean, my heart rate was jacked. It was 175 for the whole thing. I had to keep my eye. Well, I don't know if I had to, but when I can't breathe, I shut my eyes. I couldn't breathe, so my eyes were closed for most of the event. I mean, it was definitely a humbling effort. But at the end of it, I ended up taking 3rd place age group. And it wasn't a huge stack. I took 10th overall. But for me, that's a pretty big win. And to come off the deck like that, and just step right into it, it really reminded me of, number one, like you have to look at the positives of what you've been doing. Just because I haven't been doing those other things, like I have been training really hard all year long. The other thing is just to not discount yourself, and get out of this comparison syndrome where we assume every other person you're going to compete against is like coming straight out of like a YouTube video. So the metaphor that I learned here was just about showing up for yourself, regardless of what you think you're at, regardless of what you think is holding you back or whatever expectation. Just show up and give your best effort and see what happens. And you might surprise yourself. There's my soapbox.
Because where you think you're at is just an opinion. That's not wisdom.
100%. Yep.
That's not wisdom. That's not going to talk to you. That's not. It's not reality. That's ego. So right there. Is like, you like that comparison of I am less than is an ego. That's a defense mechanism to make you not feel, to force you to hopefully save you from feeling uncomfortable. And it has everything to do with learned experience. It could have been something that happened as a kid. I mean, like when we think when we think back about where our egos developed, it happens at a very young age. Like that whole looking down on ourselves, feeling a sort of shame, I'm not valuable enough, goes back to the simplest learned experiences of the first time you felt like somebody was watching you when you were dancing or somebody was judging you. Like, when was the last time you truly danced or moved around? When you think of babies, they're always like moving their hands, dancing, they're cheered for. But eventually, 6, 7 years old, if you were to just dance willingly to music, look at you, people start to judge you, or be like, why are they doing that? There's this thing where all of a sudden, almost this awareness that kicks in people's brains, where the judgment happens. And that learned experience where somebody's like, hey, stop doing that. Like, when you're doing something, when you're being your authentic self, when you're just being who you want to be in that moment, and somebody says something like, hey, why are you doing that? They question it. That gets logged in your brain, and it comes back on race day. Just like what happened to Nick, just like what happened with Nick, of I'm not good enough. I can't live up to this sort of thing. That's exactly kind of what I'm meaning by ego. And that's how it steps in. And it's just a matter of going back and revisiting those times when you were that age as a kid, meeting that person where they are, kind of meditating on it and being like, I like that person. I want to be more like that.
That's an incredible perspective, Lombard. I want to jump into that a bit more with ego here. You said something on the show, Nick, last week when I was watching the episode, and Lombard and I talked about this on our show, on the Steve Setka show the other day, where he said, I want to suffer to the point of spirituality. And I want to relate this to this message that I listened to at church on Sunday, where it's like, living the good life is like living the worldly life, but living the blessed life in life is like living the eternal godly life. And when you take yourself out of your own head, your own mentality, and your own body and your own physicality, and you give it to the Spirit, you give it to the Lord instead, you're destined for so much more. And like you said, you weren't necessarily prepared mentally, physically, but you went and you showed up and you took it out of your own hands and you gave it to the Spirit in order to drive you forward. And you exceeded your own expectations in that race. That was inspiring. And I've never seen those videos before, and I didn't really know much about those Spartan races. But
we gotta get the DECA. You'd have fun with that, man. It's it's quick. The mile took me just under 31 minutes, and I'm gonna do another one in 2 weeks. Try to get under 30.
Incredible.
Keep it up. You know what's funny? When I mentioned that the spiritual suffering, somebody had actually asked me about that. They're like, "What do you mean? Like you see God?" And I was like, "No." But what I did say is kind of what you just said. I was like, but I do let go of the world. Like right. I have no worldly, nothing, no ties at that point. Like, it literally is just you. Mm-hmm. And well, if your higher power, your spirits, nature, whatever you want to say, but there is no bills. There is nothing tying me. There's no disease. There's no responsibilities come Monday. There's no ego, no status, no social media. Just you and your spiritual side.
Incredible. I had that experience when I did my full marathon there back in the spring in Fargo, North Dakota. I felt that for sure, because it's not often that you lose your body and you lose your mind.
That's why I always encourage people to get into, like, not everybody wants to race. I get it. Like they feel it, which again is ego talking, why they don't want to race, because they don't want to be embarrassed. But from quote unquote reality is the most intoxicating thing you can think of, where nothing else matters but the mile you're in, the email, the this, the that. And it allows it's its own form of meditation, which kind of cycling off what you said, Steve, like, right straight up from Sermon on the Mount, like it is a command where he says, don't be anxious. I can't remember it word for word, but like it is like quite literally saying, do not be anxious. Don't worry about tomorrow. Today's got its own things. Tomorrow's going to worry about itself. Like it's like, and we always have to go back and reread and reteach those moments, because it's you don't just catch it on. You could be good for a little bit, but I mean, we don't need to be anxious. We don't need to worry about tomorrow. Let's focus on today. Let's figure it out. Like, let's get the body moving, do what we need to do, and just start loving doing it.
Isn't Ryan Holiday, right? Isn't he the one who wrote Run the Mile You're In?
I'm not sure.
Well, I'm going to look it up because I read it. It's a good book, and I highly recommend you all do. But sometimes that's, in a Spartan race, it's always about, like, especially in a long race, and if there's certain obstacles that maybe you struggle with, like, I don't know, I can't speak for everyone else, but I speak for a lot of us when I say, if there's like one obstacle that we dread, and it's at the last mile, that's what we'll think about the whole race. And that's how you negatively, hi, Benny, impact your race. Yep. Why don't you keep sliding over, buddy? There you go. Come on. The spry 14-year-old here. There you go. You can't have my coffee. There's so much power in just running the mile you're in, because in that mile, there's nothing else to fear. You don't have to worry about. And, you know, I heard this once, and I don't know if this is true, but like when Navy SEALs going through Hell Week, when they go ring the bell, it's never in the middle of whatever torture exercise they're giving them. You know, if they're like, hey, do 1,000 sit-ups and whatever, I just made that exercise up. They don't quit at 500. They do the 1,000 and then go ring the bell. You know, we never really quit in the middle of the suffering. It's that fear of going back into the fire that makes us want to bail out.
That's why we got to go through the fire.
Yes, sir.
There we go.
Yeah, let's go through the laptop. There you go, buddy. Come on.
There you go, through the fire. The title of a great book out there. I've heard about that phrase before. Incredible. Pedro, where are you at with the spirituality mentality we're talking about right now?
What's that, man? Sorry, you're a little muffled.
Where are you at? What's your thoughts?
I don't have any thoughts, man. My thought right now is just it's just exercising. But I love it, man. I stay quiet almost purposely on every one of these shows because I just like to hear this stuff, man. I like to hear Lombard and Trey and Nick talk and, you know, motivate me, pump me up, give me some wisdom, and so I can get rid of my opinions, you know. But I
actually
love
got a
this stuff,
challenge
man.
for you, Pedro.
Huh?
I got a challenge for you.
Oh gosh, what?
Because I know us on this show and your friends are like continuously wildly proud of your continued progress. Mm-hmm. And I don't think you talk about it enough. And the reason I don't think you talk about it is ego, because you think you're going to feel or sound stupid to others when talking about it, or maybe you feel like
no. Honestly, you want to know why I don't talk about it, Nick? I can tell you right now, because I don't feel like I did it on my own, because I am on a weight loss med that helps me a lot. Even though I do work out and I do watch what I eat, I keep control of my macros, which Lombard, you know, taught me last year. Honestly, that's why I don't talk about it, bro, because I don't feel like I deserve all the glory, even though I do put some of the effort. That's just me, man. That's just how I am. I'm either I'm 100% responsible, and anything below 100%, I can't take the glory for it.
It's not about glory, though. It's about sharing what can help others. I think you are an example of what can help others. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, quick switch on mindset is, well, you know, 100 years ago, well, you know, or even 50 years ago, or even in the 90s, you know, we'll go back to the 90s or early 2000s. There was, you know, it was pen and paper to track your macros. There were no step trackers. There was nothing. So, I mean, there's always going to be some new form of technology that is going to help aid and benefit people who are on those things. So, I mean, I even go back to the 90s, you know, somebody in the 90s who lost 100 pounds, I'll tell you what, they did it better than me, and because they had a lot less resources. So, I mean, we use the tools that, you know, that are given to us at the time. So definitely don't have any shame in that sort of thing. Don't let it stop you. You're still putting in the work. You're still doing, like, which is the biggest thing. There's a lot of people who aren't. There's a lot of people who might be on the same medication who are just using it for that intended purpose,
destined
for
to be
vanity.
on it forever, whereas you're taking control of yourself.
You can take.
I appreciate it, guys.
Still not get stronger, Pedro. If you're taking steroids, you still got to lift weights in order to get those muscles bulked up. And
that's true, man. That's true. And you know, honestly, I'm just I'm one of those people. I've always been this way. Always be this way. I just don't give myself the glory and appreciation that you know I always deserve. So, you know, it's just me. But it's funny. I say that to say that. It's because I do that to keep my ego in check. You know, I don't want to have too big of a head and be so full of myself that it's like, oh, it's all me, it's all me, it's all me. You know what I mean? So I self-deprecate just enough to keep my ego in check.
Well, you know, the magic trick, right? It's not about glory. Let your friends and others give you glory, okay? You give help. I didn't tell that DECA story because I wanted a high five. When I sent you guys the results, that's because I wanted a high five from my friends. I didn't tell it on here for a high five. I told it on here because I want someone else sitting on their ass thinking that they can't do something that, hey, wait a minute, maybe I can. And so by sharing your story, whatever part of it that you want to share, there's a lot of people right now, man, who need that first step, who just need to look at you and be like, okay, so wait, even I can maybe, it's okay if I do this with a little help and I can do things on my own. Like there's that first step that you can actually start to be a beacon for. And it's not about beating your chest. It's just, how can I use what I've got to help other people?
Man, that is a freaking fantastic spot to leave it, boys.
Jessica, thank you for joining us as always.
And any of the
Steve's
homies who jumped in for Iron Minds, we will be back next week. And as always, as Trey says, iron sharpens iron. So one man sharpens another. Get out there, hammer down, and get after it.
Man, that was fire, boys.